This year's recipient of the Ralph Rogers Legacy Award is Sheri Cole. Sheri choreographed and directed over 100 productions from Salt Lake City to Ogden. She loved dance and theater her entire life and loved seeing others thrive and grow in the arts. Sheri Cole was born in Green River, Wyoming, and grew up in Bountiful, Utah. She was in the first graduating class at Bountiful High School in 1957. As a teenager, Sheri showed great promise as a ballerina and studied ballet at the University of Utah.
Even though she was not your stereotypical ballerina, she looked different from all the other girls. She was taller than everyone else, and in that culture, being different is kind of frowned upon. One day, while she was dancing, something in her foot snapped, and she was in a lot of pain. She finished out the class, but unfortunately, that was her last day dancing as a ballerina. She couldn't walk for over a year. She had to be carried around at home or crawl, and she thought her life was over. She was devastated. Until one day, a friend of hers took her to a modern dance class, and she found this place where there were people of all different shapes and sizes, and she thought, okay, this is where I belong. Even though this one door closed for her, another better one opened.
After 1 year at the university, Sheri transferred to BYU, joining their dance program. This was where she met Lyle Cole. The first time Lyle laid eyes on Sheri, she was in a production of The King and I. She had dyed her hair black, and for many years he had no idea what color her hair really was. They married in 1959 and quickly settled in Bountiful, where they stayed the rest of their lives and raised their 5 children. In 1965, director Kim R. Birmingham asked her to choreograph Bountiful High's production of The Music Man. She worked with Kim and then with Brian Bowles, choreographing all of the productions at Bountiful High for the next 15 years. In 1974, she founded the Sheri Cole Dancers. Marilyn Montgomery, a well-loved choreographer here at Centerpoint, was one of those dancers. They performed floor shows across the valley. She also opened her own dance studio, converting her garage into a space for dancing. No cars allowed, just dancers. A new project came for Sheri in 1975, when she founded and then worked for Bountiful Community Theater. Sheri was on the phone and in meetings for weeks getting this theater funded and trying to convince the residents of Davis County that theater doesn't just happen in Salt Lake and Ogden. It happens here, in South Davis County. It was a daunting task, but one that she was born for. Their first production of Camelot, performed on the Viewmont stage, featured our own CPT board member, Dave Hill. She continued to act, direct, choreograph, and produce many other Bountiful Community Theater productions. Sheri also choreographed at Promise Valley Playhouse with directors Pat Davis, Ralph Rogers, and others.
One of my earliest memories of my grandma Sheri was seeing her direct and choreograph Meet Me in St. Louis at Promise Valley Playhouse for her stake, and watching her interact with every aged cast member, from the oldest man in the show playing Grandpa down to the littlest kids in the ensemble, and their faith and trust in her, of her vision, her style, everything she did was so inspiring. And I think right there at 8 years old, that's when I was prompted to do what I do every day, which is to choreograph, direct, and act, and create awesome theater and performances on stage.
She extended her choral choreography talents to the Sweet Adelines and the Beehive Statesmen. She went back to school and earned her teaching certificate, graduating with a degree in communications and theater. She was immediately hired as Davis High School's drama teacher.
She was just this builder of people. She could take anyone, and she believed in them so much that they would start to believe in themselves, and she could get anyone, anyone, to sing and to dance and to act, and not only do things on stage that were amazing, but she would coach people in their everyday lives too.
In 1988, she organized the Cole Collection. This singing group consisted of Sheri, her 4 daughters, 1 daughter-in-law, and sometimes her mother, Eulalia Butters. They entertained at many local events, and eventually this group included grandchildren as well. Sheri returned to Bountiful Community Theater, where she directed and choreographed Fiddler on the Roof, The King and I, and Nonsense. which was put on with the Cole collection and featured all of her daughters and a friend, Mary Ann Lovelace. She served on the Rogers Memorial Theater Board from 1999 to 2003. Sheri directed and choreographed Annie for RMT in 2001. She and her sweetheart Lyle served an LDS mission to Scotland, and as soon as they returned became involved with Jana Monson and the Creative Arts Academy Children's Theater Program. Seussical a Musical Junior was Sheri's final production, and it was performed right here in the very first season at Centerpoint Legacy Theater in the Leachman Hall. Sheri was an inspiration to many.
I remember before she passed away, she had been in the hospital and then she was able to be home for about 3 weeks before she died of cancer. And in that 3 weeks, we had flowers sent in from all over the place. We had people fly in from Florida and California and all over the place just to talk to her one last time and feel of her love and her. She was a cheerleader. She would cheer them on as they sat by her deathbed. She would cheer them on. And that's what I remember about my mom.
Even in hard times, when you think all is gone and your dreams are crushed, it can open the door to many new dreams.
Sheri and Lyle have 5 children, 17 grandchildren, and 15 great-grandchildren. Her love for theater and every artistic aspect of it continues on through her posterity. 11 of her wonderfully talented crew have performed here on the Centerpoint stage. We know she is still singing, dancing, performing, and encouraging all those around her in heaven to open a new window.
Whistle a new rhythm, whistle a new song. Goes to the new vintage, but this doesn't taste too long. There's only one way to make the bubble stay.